Welcome, friend. This is I Need Thee Every Hour, a podcast dedicated to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You are listening to your ministering sister, Casey Mills. Hey there, welcome back. We are starting the Divorce Twilight Zone Part 2. I had some more thoughts just to preface this idea of just divorce in general. My parents divorced when I was 18, and I have two sisters and one brother that have been through a divorce. And my family, we are not strangers to divorce. And I felt like my parents were pretty darn amicable, still are. And most especially my oldest sister, when she went through her divorce, I felt like they were a great example. They, meaning her and her ex-spouse, were a great example to me of being amicable and respectful. They handled everything outside of court. They were able to work together on things. And this was even with being not living in the same state. They were able to work things out. Both had remarried, not too many years after their divorce, and even their spouses, were great additions to the dynamic, and really, and even now, like they're the unicorns because they are actually friends. Like now that their mutual child, they had one child together before their divorce, and now that child is grown and has children of her own. You could say, well, they wouldn't have to still communicate with each other, but they totally do, and even have visits, and they're friends. They're all really great friends, and I mean, it's pretty incredible, and I just love all of them, and I think that was really, really to my niece's great benefit and blessing. And I wish every day that I had an amicable situation. I don't want to be best friends with the guy, but even just how well I feel like my husband and I have been able to be amicable with his ex-spouse, it just feels to me like it's not impossible. And not only is it not impossible, it's not impossible for me. I certainly could have had an ugly situation, I suppose, with my husband's ex-spouse, but I feel like I tried really hard. And one little trick that the Lord showed me that helped me to view her in the right way and view things in the right way was I basically was trying to look at her from a perspective of, if she was not my husband's ex-wife, let's say I knew her in a different setting, like say I knew her from work or church or whatever, right? Would I be friends with her? Would I be friendly with her? Would she be someone that I would get along with? And I just had to say right off the bat, totally. I totally would. So I just felt like, well, then if she can, feel things were, amicable for her and not feel any sense of, I don't know, jealousy or as if I was, treading on her role in in my stepdaughter's life. Whatever the case may be, obviously that's to her credit too. She's the kind of person that I felt that I felt was easy to get along with and easy to just like her. And I'm not perfect. All right. That makes me sound like, ooh, it was just so easy and it just went splendid right from the start. No, I mean, there was definitely hiccups along the way, and I had to get past some of my own issues with things, and I had to swallow my pride a bit, and it wasn't easy, but I knew it was important. And another key thing that I kind of was trying to make a little deal with Heavenly Father, as it were, a deal, I guess if I could call it that, was just to say, well, I'd like to treat her as best I can. I'd like to treat her the way I would like to be treated. And incidentally, I was not being treated that way, but I still wasn't about to take it out on her. I still felt strongly that she deserved to be treated that way, and I felt like I'm maybe in some way I'm earning my right to eventually be treated with respect in regards to who I am in my kids' lives. Anyway, I just really, really tried hard to handle things not only like an adult, but like Christ would want me to. So yeah, again, not easy to do, but simple. So yeah, had great examples, and it's funny because I think back, and even before I even got serious about wanting a divorce from my previous spouse, I remember, because like you see and you hear things, maybe my family or media or whatever the case may be, and it just seems kind of like the norm is to be ugly and use children like a tool or in a tug of war kind of a thing. And I feel like for the most part, it looked like it was women doing that kind of a thing to the ex-husband and using the kids to hurt the ex-husband and just petty stuff. I mean, whatever, right? I can't judge people's situations, but that's just kind of what I feel like is portrayed generally. And so from my perspective, well, if this is the women that are doing this kind of thing, well, then it's perfectly within my control to have this divorce be amicable. And so, like I said, even way before I even was seriously thinking about divorce, I remember thinking if I was ever in that kind of situation, I would be nice. Like I promised myself, I told myself, I swore to myself, I would be nice. I would be respectful and cooperative and respect my my children's father's role in their lives. So it's just funny that I would have even had that kind of a thought and already kind of made that pact within myself that I would not be the one to create drama. And somehow I guess then once divorce came on the table, then yeah, I mean, my thought was, well, I'm going to make sure that this is amicable. I mistakenly thought that I was in control. I don't know why, right? I mean, I think I've given a lot of evidence to the contrary that I was definitely not in control of anything in my life. And my ex-spouse very much controlled everyone and everything. One key thing then, I guess I should lead in the next part that I probably should share is that when I decided to separate, there's a lot of things that happened, a lot of things that went down. There was ugly stuff going on at that time, and so it just kind of felt like things kind of came to a head a bit, to where I just was like, I'm done. And I said, I want to move out. And luckily I had a friend who happened to have an open bedroom and was willing to let me move in with her. Now, that would seem odd that I would leave the marital home and my children's home. I feel like I should mention that I was the breadwinner and had been for, I guess, 4 years maybe, or almost 4 years at that point. I had been the primary breadwinner, and there were many times before that when we would get into fights, that I would try to ask him to leave, demand even that he leave. Our fights were, I tried my best to keep things to like after the kids were in bed kind of a thing, so that they weren't witnessing anything. Tried to shield them from it as much as possible. But when he wanted to pick a fight, he wanted to pick a fight. And I wasn't able to say that it wasn't a good time, or you are not able to be reasoned with right now, so we need to not do this right now, or let's not do this in front of the kids. That kind of stuff was not okay. Not okay with him. And there were definitely times when I would try to walk away and say, I need to cool down. He wouldn't let me walk away. He'd follow me into whatever room I went into. Maybe I would say, you need to go cool off. Now I need to say, his family, he had all of his family living close by, like within close driving distance, like we're talking within 20 minutes, okay? His parents' house was the closest. And I had no family around. None close, not even in the same state. So, when you think of, okay, you need to cool down, right? You need to go somewhere, you need to whatever, right? And he was so all about his family. It was just pathetic. But in those moments when it's like, you need to cool down, like you got to stop, like we're not getting anywhere with this, like can you just go? Like, just go to your parents for the night, or just go there to cool down, or go vent to them or something. Like, I didn't know what to do. It really had, like I said, built up. And he just wouldn't. He wouldn't leave. He just wouldn't leave. And so I knew if I was going to get away from him, I had to be the one to leave somehow. And, anyway, so that's why I ended up leaving the marital house and moving out. And I felt like, well, I had the income, and there was certain financial implications and things that I had agreed to even during the separation. And then anyway, I really, like I said, when I say I was trying to be nice, I was trying to give him time to find work. I was trying to be cooperative with childcare. Honestly, I've looked back and I've pored over the past and the details and things that I remember, and I just, every way I look at it, I really felt like I tried my best to just say, look, you hate me. We are not good together. I don't want to fight with you anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. You need something different. I need something different. This just isn't working. And that's totally oversimplifying it. And he acted like he agreed with me at first. He and his family were shockingly nice. And I was lulled into this false sense of security that they actually were like, okay, great. He didn't want to have to be the one to ask for a divorce. No one wants to be the bad guy, right? So, maybe they were just grateful that I finally just said, enough, let's just end this. Let's be nice. Let's do this amicably. Let's, if I have to work, I think you should have to work too. Let's do this 50-50. Well, let's work something out, And so here, major mistake on my part. His brother, one of his brothers, I don't know if he is still a lawyer, but he was a lawyer at the time. And incidentally, not a family law attorney. So that was mistake number one, using someone that was not a family law attorney. He actually did, I can't even remember what it was that he did, but I know it wasn't family law. Anyway, and I don't know if he could get in trouble for this or not, but he should not have portrayed himself in the way that he did and acting like he was representing both of us in drawing up divorce paperwork. My understanding is he should have recommended to me to hire my own lawyer, at least just to look over the paperwork, even if not to literally represent me. But he offered to draw up the divorce paperwork free of charge. He expressed that he loved both of us and loved our children and just wanted what was best, wanted us to have things be amicable. He said everything right. And I was so grateful. I thought, wow, what a nice person. He's not angry with me. He's trying to help us out here, help us to save some money. He's telling me like it is, the way the paperwork needs to be. It had to be this way. It had to be that way, blah, 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 as if he knew. Okay. And his parents, his sister, who basically handles everything for everyone, just really trying to be the mediator and the communicator, because he was having a hard time communicating with me because he was just so heartbroken that I broke up with him. I mean, it was just, anyway. So it was kind of same kind of thing, right? As when I say once you marry this person, then their true colors come out because you're stuck. Well, they did the exact same thing to me, that once I signed this divorce paperwork, this completely terrible paperwork. What I know about divorce now and family law now, I'm just sick to my stomach that this paperwork was drawn up so poorly and that I was completely manipulated into signing it. I was absolutely preyed upon by all of them. They had this whole thing orchestrated behind my back, and it was like as soon as I signed this paperwork, that was it. That was it. And they knew they could do whatever they wanted because it was going to be an absolute impossible battle and a bottomless money pit to try and change the paperwork, to alter anything, to try and mediate about anything, to enforce anything. Even the stuff that I felt like I got some wins in the paperwork, he didn't have to follow through on it. And it didn't even matter when I brought it to court. They still did not do anything. And that's a whole nother episode about how royally screwed up the family court is. I mean, my goodness, I took it up the tailpipe many times. One thing that I wanted to say was that after one poignant thing that I wanted to mention was that after I had signed the paperwork and I thought we had an arrangement, he had started contacting like anybody who would give him an ear and was lying about me and just trying his best to turn everyone against me. And he was very successful, like shockingly successful. Satan is good. Satan is really good. And that was something that the Lord showed me, is that he wasn't working on his own. He was purely a pawn. And so in that way, I can almost pity him, kind of like, I like to compare it to Bilbo Baggins having pity on Gollum. And it's that kind of a thing. It's just like, this person is just an absolute, just disgusting version of themselves, what they could have been, what they were at one time, maybe. I mean, I just don't, I don't know, I'm sure maybe he was a nice boy, I don't know, but he's turned into quite a Gollum. But anyway, one thing that happened to me through the process of him turning everyone against me is in my perspective, he had turned everyone at our church against me. And I've since found out that that's kind of like a thing within our church, and maybe it's a thing with other churches too. I don't know. But it's kind of like this thing, like if people are getting a divorce, like everybody thinks they have a right to know the details, and they think that they have a right to judge people, and whoever gets to the bishop first, or whoever gets to rag on the other person first, somehow gets everyone on their side. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is, well, I don't want to give too much personal detail, personal information, identifying information, but, or excuse me, I guess I should say potentially identifying information. But I just, that was something that was really, really hard to accept, that these people that I had served with for years, people who I felt knew me well, people I thought I knew well. I mean, he wasn't serving. I was often doing things that he was supposed to be doing, that he had volunteered to do. We call it a calling. He had taken a calling for some reason, even though he had no intention of doing it. And so to save face and to protect him, I was doing his calling for him in addition to my own calling. So, there was a 2-year period roughly where I was working full-time, doing school full-time or part-time. I was doing callings. Like I said, my own and his. I was trying to serve in other ways. I still had all my kids that I was taking care of anytime I wasn't away at work or school. I was completely spread thin. And so to have me finally just say enough, I'm done being abused by this person. I just want to split from him. And then to have everybody in the church totally turn against me, that was really hard, because, I mean, certainly that's not what is taught in the church I belong to, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I mean, obviously we are taught to be Christ-like. We are taught to be non-judgmental. Judge not, lest ye be judged. People just somehow think they have a right to judge you. And especially when you're dealing with someone, maybe they felt like they had no reason to believe that he was lying about me, and no one bothered to come and ask me what the truth was or anything. And they just, completely turned on me, and were even helping him. It's so pathetic to think about, like, he had so much help and resources, and I had nothing. And here's this single dad giving him free childcare and bringing him meals and doing, like, practically wiping his butt. And I had nothing. I'm a single mom trying to work, and I had to quit school because I just couldn't. It was too much. And I had nothing. I had no one. I had no help, no resources. Shortly after we separated, I was laid off from my job. It was scary. So I was living on the benefits that you get from the government when you get laid off, which wasn't a ton, and it's temporary, of course. And then whatever savings I had that we had split between the two of us, I took my share, and that's what I was living on. And I even was paying bills at the house he was living at. Anyway, I remember how devastated I was to have people that I thought believed in being Christ-like, have them turn on me, and it made me really question my membership in my church. It made me really question the gospel. And I remember turning to the Lord quite frequently and fervently, because I was having a really hard time going to church, even though I was glad to have moved out and I had a different church, a different building, essentially the same church, but different meeting house that I was going to. So it was different people that were there, but it was hard. It just kind of felt like everybody's going to judge me there too, now as a single mom kind of a thing. And so I just didn't want to go to church. And I remember my oldest child, my son, he had just barely turned 8 and been baptized right in the throes of all of this. And I remember the Lord telling me point blank, if you do nothing else in regards to church or religion or anything, you and your son, my son, he said, you need to get him to church to partake of the sacrament. The sacrament is our taking of the bread and water as a renewal of our baptismal covenants, that we to say that we are taking upon us the name of Christ, that we are going to be his disciple, and basically we're gonna live the way he wants us to live. And so to not even be going and partaking of the sacrament was something that I hadn't really thought about, but then through my prayer and my wrestle with the Lord, he told me point blank that he didn't care if I had a calling. He didn't care if I went to all the other classes and everything else that was going on there. I didn't need to become best friends with people. I didn't need to do anything. He didn't expect anything else of me. He just said, the most important thing for you to do is to get your children there, especially your newly baptized son. Get yourselves there to get the sacrament. I don't care about anything else. That's the most important thing. That's kind of the impression that I got about it, was that that's really the whole point of Sunday attendance and worship. Everything else is extra, basically. Awesome stuff, right? Like Sunday school and primary for the children and talks, musical numbers, prayers, everything that makes church what it is wonderful and fulfilling and all of that. But the whole reason why we do it is to partake of the sacrament. That is what it's about. And to miss out on that every Sunday was going to be detrimental to me and to my children, especially my son, was basically what was shown to me, and that I needed to get there. I needed to make it there. And I remember, I'll just share this one last story in regards to that. I remember feeling like the Lord was, just basically praying, okay, well, I got these, I got these 5 kids and they're young, and it's not easy getting them to church, right? Especially when, I hadn't been going for, a little while. And I tried so hard to get them to church on time. And I could not believe how difficult it was to get them to church on time that first Sunday after I had committed to the Lord. And I remember when we finally got there, so the bread is what's given first. They do the sacrament prayer for the bread. Then the bread is given out. Then they do the sacrament prayer for the water, and then the water is given out. Well, we arrived at church just in time for them to be bringing, right before they brought out the water. And I cannot even express to you how devastated I was. I was just like, Lord, I tried so hard to get here, and to miss the bread, it was just like, it was devastating. And I'll never forget this sweet young boy that was handing out the young priesthood holder that was handing out the water. I think he just knew. I think the Spirit told him. I mean, obviously, I'm feeling the confirmation of it all over again right now. The Spirit told him he needed to go and get the bread for us. And he did. Somehow there was leftover. Somehow he was able to go get bread. And he made sure that we got both the bread and the water. And I just felt like God was saying, what you're offering to me is good enough. Come and go as far as you can. Come and meet me. I'll meet you where you're at. And he did. He met me where I was at. He said, it was good enough. Your offering that day was good enough. And I'm out of time. There's still lots more I want to talk about, so I will do another episode for a part 3 of the Divorce Twilight Zone. So please come back.